Let's cross now to Rami Khouri, who is a distinguished public policy fellow at the American University of Beirut. Joins us live from Boston in the United States. So, Rami, first up, what's your reaction to what's happened?
Well, we should welcome the ceasefire for everybody and hope that it holds, and hope that it is fully implemented in its three phases, and then that might open the door to better things in the future. We'll have to wait and see. But it's also good news for the Palestinians who are not going to have to wake up or be woken up by bombs and fires in their tents and death every day and every night. But the stresses that the Palestinians are going to feel in Gaza in the coming 2 or 3 years are going to be enormous, simply to exist. There's clearly going to be a massive international emergency effort with portable homes and tents and all kinds of things to at least have people sheltered, warm in winter, water, food, medicine, schools can reopen, and then gradually they will figure out how to remove the rubble and rebuild whatever they want, wherever they want, whatever they can. It's just an enormous challenge, but the Palestinians are up to it. They've done an enormous deed by simply staying there, holding their ground, paying an incredibly high price in death and suffering, and the photos of shredded babies and people burning in their tents. None of us will ever forget those as long as we live.
And the thing is, it kind of goes from catastrophe with bombardment to just plain catastrophe now, doesn't it?
Well, initially, for a short initial period, it's catastrophe. But what will happen immediately is there'll be hundreds and hundreds of trucks of food and medicine and water. That'll ease things a lot. The dire emergencies that people were suffering, people dying of starvation, that will probably quiet down, go away, inshallah. And then there will be huge challenges. People will be frustrated. They'll be angry. We don't know how they're going to react. The critical thing, which we don't know now, is how is Gaza going to be governed? To bring in the Palestinian National Authority from the West Bank under Mahmoud Abbas is not something that many people welcome, except for Mahmoud Abbas and the American and Israeli governments, because that's proven to be not a serious government that reflects Palestinian sovereignty or rights. It just basically acts as a security arm for the Israeli government, which is a terrible thing, terrible situation to be in. And that's why Hamas developed as a resistance movement, because the Palestinian government wasn't doing its job. But there has to be a governance system in Palestine that is legitimate and effective. And for that to happen, it has to be anchored primarily in Palestinian man and woman power, talent, which is plentiful, and it has to reflect the political consensus of all Palestinians, not only in Gaza, but in the West Bank and East Jerusalem and everywhere else, which already is the case, which is to keep struggling peacefully if possible, preferably peacefully, to keep struggling for Palestinian national rights and the Israeli occupation and the apartheid system and the genocide.
Right.
These are all really, each one of these is a huge, huge challenge. And
indeed, they're all huge challenges, aren't they? But for us even to get to that point, first of all, this ceasefire has to hold, doesn't it? Where are the potential fault lines? Where could it go wrong?
I think the fault lines would probably be provoked by Israeli extremists and possibly by American extremists. This is one of the difficulties we have now. We Palestinians, we're not just fighting Israel. We're fighting Israel and the United States, and in some other cases like the British government and the German government. But in the United States, there's this massive pro-Israeli sentiment among the official political leaders. In the public, it's much more even-handed. And this is a real challenge for the Palestinians, which is how do we proceed? What's priority? Is it priority to, feed our babies and educate our children and whatever? Or is it a priority to challenge the Israeli government and challenge the Israeli military? And this is a huge debate that's constantly going on, has been going on all my life. I remember in the 1960s when I was in college, and then ever since then, working in the Arab world, this is always being debated. What should we do, not just as Palestinians, but as Lebanese, as Jordanians? The problem is that most of the governments in the Arab region, especially the governments confronting the confrontation states, as they used to be called, but none of them ended up being really confrontational, though they did carry out some wars, to be fair to the Syrians and the Egyptians and the Jordanians. They fought and they lost and they paid heavily for it. But they, in the end, they gave up quickly trying to stand up to Israel and its Western backers. The Palestinians never did. The weakest party, the Palestinians, never gave up, never surrendered. They were subjected to the worst brutality, savagery that you can imagine. The most high-tech killing machines in the world, invented in the United States and in Israel, were tested on them, shredding babies in their tents as they slept, setting fire to entire camps of refugees, displaced people. But the Palestinians just held their ground. And this is why the Palestinian cause elicits such great support around most of the world, all of the global south, and probably half the global north.
Okay.
And there's demonstrations. And it's because the people, so let me just finish. People understand that what the Palestinians are fighting is the last anti-colonial battle in the entire world.
Indeed. Rami, appreciate that. Thanks very much. Rami Kurdi, a Distinguished Public Policy Fellow at the American University of Beirut. Thanks.